Hey, how's it going? It's Man Tomorrow here. Thanks for coming through. Oh my God. Sister Georgia Concrete Rose, y'all can never do another show like that again. Y'all can't. I'm telling you, you cannot do a show like that again. If you do breakdowns based off of old footage of how women acted in public when it came to interracial dating, it verifies everything that SYSBM said, everything that Passport Bro said. You can't do shows like that. You can't do shows with people not understanding how things work, not understanding boundaries, not understanding anything. You can't do shows like that. You can't point to the past because remember, it doesn't matter how much you claim to be community and all that stuff. If you can't provide homegirls to these dudes who are starving for any type of female attention, then you've lost. You've lost. And you have to realize that you can't point to the past to where people are not supposed to even believe you at all. That's crazy. Like you can't go back to the 80s and the 90s shows. Those women were up there acting a fool. They acted like black men were possessions that were theirs that they didn't want to feed, but they did not want to be fed anyway by other people. You cannot do shows like that. You cannot do shows like that. It is anti the mission. Anti the mission. Anti the mission. What's going on, Tampa Supreme? Authentic Perspectives, Rep and Finance, see we here, Bob, Scott Hayward. But it shows that even since that time period where you guys knew what the issue was, y'all still wanted to deal with the actual crop of men that you wanted to deal with, and then you expected the crop of men that you didn't deal with to clean up your mess after you dealt with those other men. We now know that that was a lie. We always know and experienced it that that was a lie. But what we didn't know is that the people who are actually putting up those type of a bulwark for those type of things that you were doing, that they were also lying. That these people also didn't have any type of access to the same women that they claimed that they were running. Those women were running a reverse sexual Ponzi scheme on everybody. They were trying to get their homegirls fed like shit throughout the entire process, and they didn't care about the outcome of the community. This is why you don't listen to women talk about the outcomes of the community, about how much they care about the community. They never cared about the community. They care about their own power over men. Now, that's one half of it. The other half of it is that men chose to be those protectors for free in most cases. It's going Rage Machine. What's going on, Ike? I'm still going to be there on time for the show, Ike. Don't worry about it. Chuck Will Igwe. So you have to understand that turnabout is fair play. I never talked about these old talk shows because I knew this stuff was so much of a factor that really verifies my point of view that I never even referenced it. Period. Because it shows you what the women thought then. Now, those women who were there then in the 80s knew that they were what they were doing. So they were having kids with compliant men. And you have to understand the compliant men were the problem. They were the problem. The men who wanted to still make deals with these women, even though they told you that they didn't care about the outcome of the family or any of that stuff, it was the men who actually made deals with these women that was the problem. Also, it wasn't the productivity piece. It wasn't the fact that people sold drugs. It was the fact of how much control they had over the trajectory of the community based on what they chose. Because at that point, they can go for their own power. Even then, on that stage, it proved to you it's the same talking points. Just like when BGS played that video of those things happening in the 70s, probably about 15 years before that, these things are not new. They're very old arguments from people who just do not get it. There's literally no reason to pretend like you're pro black with these type of outcomes. The only way you can make these type of pretend things is if you could be able to hold people accountable and responsible for the outcomes itself. This is why indifference and new inventory settles all arguments. The only way you can fix this community is by having one in the first place. The only thing you can do at this point is make sure that you have somebody that you can be able to deal with who have a level of cultural understanding about the outcome that you wish to see. There is no dealing with the same inventory that's here and expecting a result from that that is going to be the standard for everything across society. We've seen the weak ass men that they chose. The weak ass men, no productivity, not a threat to them at all. And these most of these dudes are complaining about child support right now. The dudes who were chosen. So all of this dumb ass ability to be chose by a woman rather than you be the actual chooser of your own destiny is also false. But you can't turn around and make this stuff this plain to see because people want options. They don't want black pearly things or white pearly things to tell them shit or even agree with them with things that they already know. The only people who fall for that shit is dumbass millennials and older simp ass dudes who just don't get life. Once you get to an actual person that you can actually agree with, you're going to be speaking to the previous level of problems the way that those people were speaking. You have to understand it. If your actual brand is about, I'm not sure what it's about, but you can't play videos like that because videos like that is the detriment of your own cause. Even if you want to see a successful community, it's a detriment to your own cause. And I'm not giving you advice, by the way. I'm just telling you, we already have seen this stuff already. We already know what's out there. I get the troll factor, I get the entertainment factor about all that, but this is about something way more serious than that. It makes men look like idiots, fools, and dumbasses to deal with you after they look at a video like that. It make the women look a hell of a lot worse for the decisions that they made watching a video like that. There's really no rationale that can justify holistically just jumping into the arms of random people within this environment if they're raised under that type of system. I keep telling people it's not the women, it's the culture. Once you make a cultural decision to separate yourself from the system and deal with other cultures everywhere else, you're going to see how easily talking to actual women is. But you can't talk to acculturated sociopaths like they're women. You can't talk to acculturated hoes like they're women. Men are supposed to be socially awkward around ran through hoes. They're supposed to be socially awkward around there. Why? This woman had the same game ran on her 200 or 300,000 times, and now you're trying to come up here as a fresh dude trying to run the same game on her. Of course, this shit's supposed to be socially awkward. It's supposed to. Culture's supposed to prepare things one way or another. The men from the previous generation prepared these women to actually scythe down the men of the current generation like ripe corn. Why? They had the same game ran on them at 13 or 14 years old, getting charmed out of a chocolate box by older men for next to nothing. Now, since they have had this level of self-esteem assigned to them based on how much value they gave away, they actually want to make the current men of the current generation pay a hell of a lot more for that access than the previous generation of older men who actually damaged and destroyed them in the first place. Again, you have to be completely transparent about what happened here. Now, they did have this system to where simp dudes and fake players and Dinosaur Max and all these game claimers pretended like they had all this access back in the past, but as we see what the results are, those people didn't have access in the past at all, unless you could prove that your ass is on child support. Because the women ain't claiming these dudes. The dudes are claiming these women. The women will allow you to claim them as long as they ain't got to speak for you. Yes, they did exactly what they wanted to do, which is everything that they wanted to do. I'm just saying there's nothing to be mad at here. What I'm saying is you have to look at this situation like it's an examination of something that you do not want to deal with. The only people who they can actually deal with are those people who already wanted to make a deal with them in the first place. Like I said, there's nothing to be mad at. You don't have to go around trolling women. You don't have to go around running up in their face telling them that you no longer want them. The only thing you can do is simply leave. Simply leave and let the men whose standard of masculinity is reasserting themselves onto these same women with the same level of game that probably didn't work then and probably won't work now. You let these people deal with them. This is not your fault. This is not your problem. If you feel guilty, clear your own name. Things cannot be clearer than they all already are right now. So you have to ask yourself, who are you willing to sacrifice to make sure these people get off the field? Because there has to be a sacrifice of someone to make sure that these people get all the way off the field. We already know this, that there's not a operational number of people that can deal with the level of people who do not have any experience within this environment. We already know that. So the question is, who's sacrificing who for what reason? Because you have, which I'm gonna talk about later when it comes to this three-letter Itmore guy. So there are three levels to this family piece that is being created out of this damaged and destroyed people who are looking to land this plane called the community. The first option of this is the dudes who claim they got game and the women who actually have hell of a lot more experience than they should have in the first place. Now, 20, 30 years ago, the actual guy who claimed that he had game and this woman was running an actual con job on most men within the environment. They know full well that they were never going to be able to work with these men within the environment at all. They was going to freely watch them walk in to be stepped ass and just be walked away from, to go back to their previous and prior arrangement, cultural arrangement before this stuff actually happened. And somehow this is supposed to be some happily ever after on a guy trusting individuals with his future, while everybody laughs all the way to the bank, regardless of how much money gets taken out of a man's bank and put into a Maggles bank and a Daggles bank. Because most of these people didn't take those things seriously as well, even in that generation. Then they had kids that was raised under a damaged covenant that saw male usury as the answer, who was taught that most male attention is to be garnered and cultivated into resources for themselves. You can't say that no one knows this now. This is the cultural standard at this point. What's going on, Sister George? What's going on, Overall Media? What's going on, Paritator, AO, Inquisitive Prince? So, it's very clear at this point. Anybody talking about community, any of these women trying to gaslight you into thinking about submission from these actual people, you have to understand that submission is an opportunity point where you feed yourself directly into their desires for an outcome that you've never lived and witnessed throughout your life. Me, I've seen submission from my mother to my father, my grandmother to my grandfather, most of my aunts to my uncles, not the boomer ones, but the silent generation ones. And it's quite a lot different than people who've had access to infinite dick. The infinite dick submission is inexperienced man overly experienced woman. That's where the black love bullshit comes from. The black love comes from the simple fact that a woman, regardless of her past, can still find a guy that's in shape, significantly more in shape than he is. And this was actually celebrated as a cultural standard of black love, to where the women can get exactly what they want while the men have to settle for a deal that some things that he clearly shouldn't be settling for in the first place. And there was no respect factor even there either. Because when it came down to correcting these actual problems in the past, most women kept their mouth shut. You want to know why? A woman's level of power is always protected by other women and men at this point. Because men can just say, we're not going to deal with this deal that's on the table. We're going to wait till another deal comes forward. You can't have 40 something percent of the men on the market childless and start talking to me about some community shit. You can't do that. You would have to be playing us for a fool. You would have to see who wants to settle for the old covenant. This is why I have not a level of anger, but I have a level of understanding for older simps within the environment itself. Older simps' job is to lay down the level of irresponsibility that's covered by the woman in said environment itself. Because it's never the women who's telling you that she has access to infinite dick and there ain't nothing you can do about it. It's the men who tell you that there ain't nothing you can do about it, therefore get in line for said infinite dick. Every time it comes down to holding people responsible in the environment or because of the environment, there is one group of people who come forward and make sure that there are no standards being held in the environment. You got that right. The actual black man who gets nothing out of the actual system to which they're upholding. That's why they have to have the woman be the head of the household in this type of system. Because at this point, the woman being ahead of the actual system, the actual black man creates the family piece. That if it's a daughter, she's going to be socialized to being better than the man. And if it is a man, he's going to be socialized to be weaker than the actual environment itself. It's not the man that's in the household itself. Everything that resembles a level of strong masculinity is going to be supplanted by a weak ass man who's going to sit there and watch his son be cucked by said women that he chose. It's no different when it came to Superhead and her son. Right now, you're experiencing the same thing with Amber Rose and her son. How former free market women from the past jumped on every single hard drive that came her way until she turned it into a floppy disk. Jump on every hard drive, every single one of them. But the actual payment for said behavior and activity is going to be paid for by the next generation. Therefore, cucking out their own son to make that son fight for the level of his own mother. And somehow we're not even supposed to see that as a level of disrespect either. Again, this is not anger to which I'm speaking. I speak from a level of understanding. Because if you want to defeat a system, you have to understand how the system works. You have to understand the ins and outs of the system. You are not to try to climb up this mountain for any reason. You are supposed to understand these systems and not play into these systems. Are there individuals who actually make it through the system, have this moonshot relationship with this person that they chose right the first time? Yes, it does happen, but it's not the norm. What's actually normal is that people go in blind eyed and expect her, with all of her experience that she's had, to actually choose them as a person that they would actually settle for. These are the individuals who will walk over there with a damn javelin trying to poach somebody off of the actual carousel, not understanding that you can't poach nobody off a carousel that's moving this fast. And even if you did poach them off the carousel, they have to choose to be with you, which they don't have to. So when these weak men decide to impregnate strong women, expecting to drag her off of the dating market, they're actually doing it for their own reasons. They don't even understand the actual systems that are actually here itself. They don't even care about the life that they create with this person, because the whole point of getting this person pregnant is to force them to have a family to which she is not trained for. She has no training for that type of system that this man is also not trained for. Because if you had cultural training, you would not be looking to ran throughs as an actual standard of femininity that you're going to charm into a family to which you're going to force her into. Remember, this is not a natural position for her. A natural position for her is to be fucking and chucking every man that she's supposed to go through. You show up, you proclaim all of your actual value to her. She tries before she actually buys or settle with you. And if you can't keep up with what she wants, she kicks you out. Not hard to understand, because the previous generation went through the same thing. Rap music as early as the 80s taught you the same thing, taught you all of these things. But see, it took a level of weak ass man to still want to fall for this stuff in the first place. And then once they fell for it, they wanted to outsource the responsibility of said action to the woman, make it look like it's her fault rather than it being your fault. Choosing to actually eat poison is one's own individual responsibility, even if you know that said thing is poisonous from the outset. That's nobody else's choice but your own. But you want the collective society to pay for the fact that she didn't submit to you after you directly chose to eat poison from a field that you know that poison came from. This is why you don't have poison ivy flavored energy drinks, poison ivy flavored cakes, donuts, pies. You don't have a poison ivy based rye bread sandwich. People know that poison ivy is not to be a part of anything that is worth substance itself. Not for the Bravo Afro November. He starts off with poison as the actual deal that he wants to orchestrate this whole idea of. And then they want to outsource it to the woman when it doesn't go right. And then you have the nerve to have 8 and 9 hour live streams about understanding a woman that required no understanding, just like you requires no understanding. Most of the things that these men complain about, they put themselves in the actual crosshairs of. Again, as truth as I said it. These people know that these are family destroying women. There's really no need to even address it any longer. But what about the people who complain about these family destroying women incessantly and they want submission from a family destroying woman? What does that say about the collective psyche of the men that we expect to lead this actual space? It says nothing about it. Nothing. They make it look like this is a predetermined destination, that they actually and absolutely have to deal with the wrong type of person to get the right kind of results. Again, this is the fault of the men not adjusting to the situation. And I mean adjusting to the point to where you don't play. Not adjusting to the point to where you play, you freely walk into consequences and it's everybody else's fault but the man's. That's not how that works either. You have to stop thinking that this is not choice based. You really have to stop thinking that this stuff is not choice based. It is definitely choice based. And even if she wasn't here, you would still try to use the same game, the same dumbass information to go out the low hanging fruit within the environment itself, expecting no consequence from things that definitely have consequence. How many proud child support dudes within this space really blows my mind. They all complain about the same woman, but at the end of the day, their sights is still set upon the same type of woman. They haven't went anywhere. They haven't done anything. They've actually given up on the simple fact that all women are the same, even though that's not true within the environment itself. Not everybody want to create a family with the idea of destroying it. But for weak men, they do want to create men with the idea of destroying them. You want to know why? They can't move around in society as freely as they could 20 and 30 years ago. You actually need to produce something now to be a part of this actual discussion. This is why most of these people want to hide behind bullshit popularity. They want to lie about everything and then hide behind bullshit popularity. Nobody lies to people for the sake of popularity, except for a Bravo Alpha November. And then they make all of these unscripted and unscrupulous claims about things that they're never around to debate. Oh, they know how to debate when there's somebody weaker than them. They know how to debate when there's somebody who's less equipped to answer questions than them. They know how to debate people when it comes to individuals who just don't know what's going on or claim to be a conservative because they don't like the outcomes of black society. Therefore, liberals are at fault. That's not true and that's not the case. Somebody has to settle for this person, for this stuff in order to keep it going. Somebody has to be buying these OnlyFans memberships. Somebody has to. Like you make it easy for people to walk off the field and to walk away from you. You make it easy. I don't know why you're making it easy, but you are making it easy nonetheless. And if people had a little bit more understanding of how this stuff works, there's no way that they would be able to keep coming through here, coming online, and pretending like they don't understand the actual ramifications of why women do things. They do things because there are no consequences for it. There are no consequences for it. And you can't expect it to come from men. Men were the one who gave them all the power in the first place. And then men decided not to actually strategize and organize for their own power. And then they decided to mess with said problematic woman and blame women for it. Then they teach the same nonsense to other generations of people. We're two generations into it now. But that's currently where we are. You have to understand this. This is not going to change. Your master teacher is not going to tell you as simply as it's put that any person dealing with this actual system deserves to be destroyed. Your complaint should never be listened to at all. He has to hide like a coward, but he knows how to attack specific and certain women, but he doesn't come out and tell you his end goal. You see, that's the difference between an amoral pragmatist like myself and an immoral pragmatist like your fake ass master teacher. An immoral pragmatist don't even tell you about what his end goal is. Everything is always in the shadows. You never know what the actual issue is. No level of success can be connected to any other level of success, no matter where it's at. Because when you're dealing with an immoral pragmatist, they're trying to keep up a certain level of bullshit for a specific reason that nobody knows. As an amoral pragmatist, I could tell you about how long the stuff is going to take, what the steps are, and how the stuff is going to look in the outset. But see, for an immoral pragmatist, they can't do that. I don't have to leverage broken boys to make my point. I don't have to bring PhDs to this space to actually bolster my level of fake credibility when it comes to education. If you wanted to be an educator of people, then that's what you would have went to be. You didn't have to lean on and leverage broken men and broken women in order for you to have your level of popularity. I think that is some whole shit that nobody would tolerate. My grandfather would never tolerate this type of bullshit. But when you've seen so many individuals created with this environment who actually think that now we on some education, I'm sorry, we're now on some entertainment shit because I'm too stupid to actually provide a pathway forward for these own people. So therefore, I'm going to leverage as much ignorance as fucking possible to damage and destroy the actual environment I claim to have cared about. It's easy to ask these people, when did you become an entertainer? Was it before Kevin Samuels? Was it after Kevin Samuels? You was just sitting here waiting for your moment to bite us in the back like a coiled fucking snake? Like when was this moment when you decided that you came to a specific place for male improvement to turn it into a place of fucking entertainment? These people ought to answer these questions. That's just crazy. That's just crazy. Because they're not done destroying the community. That's why. These boys in this condition is still an actual level of things that can still be leveraged. It wasn't just destroying the community and creating kids that they didn't want to raise. Oh no, that was just the first part of it. They've came back to finish off the entire group that they created. Now that they've supplanted most productive men within the environment itself. And it has to be that particular. How do you have the personnel that Uncle Stu just said? Like, how come these former drug dealers and 94 crime bill complainers, how come they're not leading anything with going on with anything positive in the community itself? How do you tell those individuals that the only person that we can particularly find to make things better in the community are the people who did it themselves? What is this? The Grinch that stole Christmas? We're going to let these people who stolen and destroyed and broke everything inside the environment truly come through here and pretend like they were the fixes the entire time of the things that were going on in said environment? We would have to be a damn fool to fall for that. But see, people who don't have any type of value outside of entertainment, they cannot bring themselves to debate people who are about substance. Because that's what it comes down to. And it doesn't matter how pro black that you pretend you are, which I think is a fraud and a grift. Like I think uh, conservative women is a fraud and an actual grift as well. Like I think most of these things is a fraud and a grift. You don't even have to bring any type of statistics to the conversation. You don't even have to know what the conversation is. The only thing you have to do for the most part is deny that something is actually happening in order to get a large ass audience. But see, when people are not productive, what they want to do is damage and destroy the environment that they cannot contribute to. They can't contribute to society. It's impossible for them to contribute to society. But they want the benefits of society, though. They don't want to pay any taxes. They don't want to learn how anything works. They don't want to team up. They don't want a coalition for things. But they actually want altruistic things just for them from both sides. They want somebody to come through, kiss their ass for some dumbass reason, and do whatever they want to without expecting for them to be shot in the back or stabbed in the back. That's why these things are not even that hard to figure out. But you have to understand what the process is from beginning to end. I understand the process. I can tell you about the process. I'm pretty transparent about what I'm talking about. But when you have people who are not really transparent about what they talk about, they have to hide behind, oh, I'm just trying to build an audience. Oh, that hurts my brand. Oh, I have a brand that's based on not being questioned. I need your help to help me build my brand. Don't you need to help me build my brand? I'm going to be full of shit to you. I'm going to damage and destroy everything that you actually stand for, but I got a brand to maintain. Oh, yeah, I have a brand to maintain, and your actual silence to my bullshit is going to help me make the brand work. These are the actual individuals who cannot answer straightforward questions. It's really not that hard. What do you say you do here? Because you're not trying to put people in tech. Every time it comes down to moving forward, you blame the gynocracy for shit that they're not doing. They don't have the power to make you not focus on the productivity piece. That's a straightforward said destination for men who never wanted to be on the productivity piece. They just wanted to watch their society burn and watch the people who are actually trying to make headway and put themselves in the middle of the mix to make sure that those people don't go anywhere either. It's not the women. It's a man's responsibility and job to stay away from these dumbass and dangerous things. Well, the actual gynocracy and the matriarchy is something that's made up by unproductive men. Unproductive men need a boogie woman to be an excuse for the reason why things are not going right in society. When they chose that women, they knew the actual history of the woman itself. I mean, you got your three-letter Ibor guy who brings up the value of the daughters of the trade and all this shit. This should tell you, should let you know to leave all this stuff alone a long time ago. But a lot of these people wanted to use game to supplement history because they wanted access to a problematic person to serve their own needs. They did not want access to a better system to serve their own needs. They had a plan for this broken woman that they watch other people break and that they actually wanted to benefit from. The only thing is, this broken woman is not stupid at all. She understands exactly why you're in her face. She understands exactly why you want to get in her pants. She understands all this stuff. It was the weak men that came up with these actual stopgap measures of men actually moving forward. Because whenever you talk to any of these people about progress, they have no type of plan. Their plan is to walk into abject consequences that everybody else walked into. That's their plan. Their plan is to give her exactly what she wants. That's the plan. The plan is to make sure that they're there. What's going on? AMSN, what's going on? What's going on, Erica? Erica, it's just a cost of doing business. I don't care about these people at all. I'll just build houses and stores within their community and I'll just take all the money back through government programs, which I suggest most of these people do. If you know as much as about the system as I do, you will be creating government programs to get every single dollar of your tax dollars back, if not even more of that money back itself. Again, these people are going to take you down with them one way or another. As long as you prove that you cannot survive without these personnel, they're going to be the mainstay of people that you actually have to do business with. But if you go around and if you build your actual collective of people without these people, you're going to be just fine. Most of these women that they've destroyed can no longer conceive. Most of these men who waited till these women's options run out can no longer conceive with those women. I think it's a decent answer to the question. No shot needs to be fired in order to win this war. They simply are just going to age out of it. The men who think they're loyal for waiting for these women, and the men who actually want to engage. They're all part of the same system. You don't need to fire a shot. The only thing you have to do is remove your presence and your actual ability to care about these individuals within this environment. They've done this stuff on purpose. There are no accidents here. This isn't like wasting ketchup or mustard or mayo on your shirt. This is a specific and deliberate process to drag us all down to their level and out procreate all reasonable people here so that way they can be the voice of us while looking like us. Again, the only way that you can be able to move apart and ahead from this system is to create a new paradigm with something that works any way that you possibly can. Don't let these people use skin color so that way you can be able to hold certain individuals within this actual system as the only person that you can work with. That doesn't make any sense either. We're asking the wrong people the wrong questions. We need to ask the right people the right questions. The people who claim that this gynocracy or matriarchy exists, it's time for them to start explaining their end goal and their plan for everybody here, since everybody's on entertainment now. I think you should ask these questions rather than waiting for BGS Itmore to have an Ask Me Anything live stream while the Black Brain Trust is live, thinking that we're going to end an actual live stream to go over there and participate in this fuckery and bullshit. I suggest he does another, and I suggest you start inviting people up on the panel so that way they can be asked questions about when did they turn from progress to entertainment. Like if rap music did this shit like in the 80s and 90s, we wouldn't have the outcome of the music industry that we had right now. The actual people who actually wanted to do those type of things will be held responsible for creating those type of things. That's what happens when you catch things short and you catch them before it actually disrupts and destroys something. You ask the questions early enough so that way you can see their actual outcomes. Like none of this stuff is really all that hard. Yeah, these people will live anywhere as long as it's free. Why not? You can get market based rent out of a damn container home. They'll live in that 20 feet. They'll live in that 20-foot container. They sure would. But at the end of the day, this stuff is still a choice. And the scoreboard is not lying. The scoreboard is not lying. You can complain about the refs all you want to, but it's your job to manage every single play of this game that your ass is a part of. No one is going to help you with any of these things that you have problems with. You have to do all of the research on your own. There are people who are in the positions to where you want to be, and it doesn't take that much to approach these individuals and understand how these systems work. You can do all this stuff now. 25 years ago, leaving the South, there was no answers to anything. But now, right now, the answers to everything are everywhere. You just have to assemble this puzzle on your own, pick a direction, and go. What's going on, Deacon David Little? What's going on, Brandon Baxter? What's going on, Spiritual Like a Hulk? But the thing is that's why you stay here long enough. So that way you can point these things out to other people as they're here. Because everything that I talk about isn't about the manosphere itself. It's about Black culture itself. Because you think this is manosphere, there's manosphere at the bottom, there's Black culture above that, There's white culture above that, and there's American culture above that. If you visit any small town in America, the same type of bullshit is going on that is going on in this space. People on drugs, people on substance, engaging in substance abuse, personnel that cannot find regular and decent work, people who have dropped out of the job market, people who refuse to get the actual skills to actually skill up and actually go for things in the environment. People are looking for any excuse not to work. You're going to see it everywhere. It just isn't a black thing, it's an American thing now. And yes, business is going to get done, even if they have to use immigrants to do it, even if they have to use felons who want to skill up to do it. Why do you think all these people got access to these opportunities? Why? The regular people who are normally locked out, they all of a sudden got the opportunity to participate. And guess what they did? They knocked it out the park. Why? People were waiting to for their chance to be invested and involved in the system itself. Everybody wasn't waiting for this thing to collapse. It's never going to. I got two of them. $225,000 a piece. I spent it exactly with what I needed to spend it on, and I didn't need not to pay not a dime of it back. They said 45, 50, 70%. I spent it 100% on what it needed to be spent on. Free money for me. And yes, you're going to start seeing a lot of people go to jail and prison for not being able to prove that they had the businesses that they needed to actually have these loans, or prove upon filing bankruptcy that they can't pay the money back. Oh, yeah, the government's coming for their money. You cannot expect these people to not actually hire those IRS agents to go after the money that they're supposed to get back. What's wrong with Jay Charles? They did. It wasn't just the women that they used. They used the children of these women. They used the system. They used all type of things to destroy the environment. They're just coming back to finish off the job. You cannot get a greater white supremacist than a dumbass black man who actually thinks that he wants to turn around and destroy his entire environment for his own sake of entertainment and actually pushing himself forward. You can't get a better white supremacist than that. You can't. You can't get a better person. You cannot get a better inside job done by a man who's offered trinkets to actually destroy their environment. Same with the musicians. I talk about the one who want to write all this BS and talk about how they're shooting, stealing, and killing and rob people. It's the same thing. They did all of that stuff to be popular. Popularity. What's the reason why they did it? Popularity. They don't mind laying down on a full stack of money below a stack of dead kids. They don't care about that. They care about getting theirs. They don't care about the entire environment themselves, and they get rewarded for it. What I'm saying is, once you connect to the productivity piece, you don't have to worry about respecting anyone. You don't have to worry about the outcomes of anyone the moment you can separate from the system. Think about it. Did they care about you once they was able to separate from the system through destroying it? They didn't care about anybody at all, did it? Yeah, it's for real. You better believe it. So with that said, I got to get over to Ike's channel. I'm pretty sure he started the show already. I'm going over to Ike Ogerman's channel for his actual show that's coming up right now. And I'll see you guys over there. And then I'll come back tonight for this actual live stream that I was going to do tonight. I want to thank you guys for coming through. I'm the man tomorrow. Make sure you like the video upon leaving. You guys have a really nice rest of y'all day. Peace.